Thank you. My name is Paul Maillet. I'm a retired colonel. I was the first director of ethics after the Somalia affair.
I don't think anybody can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was the first director of ethics after the Somalia affair. I retired in 2001 and have a business that works in Africa. We finished a large 3-year project just recently, putting an ethics secretariat in the President's office in Tanzania. It was a CEDA contract. So we work in ethics, anti-corruption, peace services. We've done trips to Iran, and we have a focus in the Middle East. What I'd like to do is get right down to it, if I may. As a government spokesperson at hand, Anita, what I would like to say is thank you. It's certainly a welcome change from the speaking constraints that MPs had in the past. Just to be able to speak and speak your mind as a government person. I'd like to put a little context in this. I certainly appreciate the need for process. I also appreciate the need and the urgency of people to get the attention of the government very, very quickly. The government is in a listening mode right now as they're trying to explore the things that they want to do. And unfortunately, as governments normally do, within about a year or so, it goes from jello to concrete, and then they know everything, and then change becomes very, very difficult. The nature of politics. Just a little more context. I would like to say that Canada is a nation of First Nations and immigrants, and that's certainly demonstrated by the people in this room here. We're an export nation, and the fears and concerns of our diaspora community for their homelands and some of the peace things that I'm involved in are the fears and concerns of Canada as a whole. I'm working with the Sri Lankan community and some other communities on some of the peace and reconciliation issues, including First Nations. So we can't defend ourselves in isolation in Canada. Geography, a strong neighbor, alliances is how we do things, but more important, the peace and prosperity of the world is the peace and prosperity of Canada. So I think we have to very, very quickly take this discussion down from process to issues that we can deal with. I would encourage everybody in this room to go to the website that produces all the mandate letters that Trudeau sent to each of the federal departments. And they're only about a page long, page and a half long, but they detail 4 or 5 things that they want to do. And I think it's an incumbent on us now to go to these departments and start to offer any assistance or advice or views or comments or whatever while they are still in this exploration phase. I would like to talk about 3. In all of the mandate letters, no matter whether it's women or not, the Prime Minister speaks about First Nations. He talks about new nation-to-nation agreements. And my concern, having worked with First Nations for 10 years now, is what does this mean? And what does it mean with regards to the Indian Act? This has to mean something substantial and not another 4 years of discussions and reports and round tables. The second thing is foreign affairs. We want to revitalize, in his words, diplomacy and cooperation abroad, peace operations, mediation, conflict prevention, post-conflict reconstruction effort. Unfortunately, this comes hard up against real politics. We have now, since, I'd say about 2000, had a military intervention orientation to our foreign policy and our military affairs. And we have foregone the fact that we used to be a very, very large contributor in peace operations. We have 2 Nobel Peace Prizes that we have. And that's not to say that in the 1960s peacekeeping is particularly relevant today, but we are now in 3rd and 4th generation peacekeeping operations in which Canada can contribute a lot more. And what I would ask is there any support in the government for going back and creating either a department or an institution of peace similar to the Pearson Peacekeeping Centers and things that may have some active mediation and involvement involved. So that being said, if we go even a little deeper, issues that would be near and dear to my heart is we have to support the P5+1 agreement. I think Canada has to change its stance on that. Civilized people talk. We have to open up consular activities and economic, non-military economic cooperation and try to do something constructive in that particular region. The Saudi problem is very, very serious, which is one of the worst human rights records in the Middle East, a very, very radical form of Islam. And the issue of putting money, jobs over principles is, in the world of ethics, a lose-lose dilemma. We have jobs and money, and it's right to have jobs and money, but it's also right to have principles and try to do something that's going to alleviate suffering. So as having a lot of experience in the military, there are certainly things that can be done with regards to this contract that can mitigate some of that. Am I out of time? Okay, 1 minute? Okay, 1 minute. The last one I would have is national defense. We're certainly going to end the war in combat mission, a new defense strategy, and I would like to talk about a suicide prevention strategy. We are in a position where the not the United States, but the Canadian military, the good we have done, the sacrifice we have made, and the harm we have done. And the harm has been considerable. And I do not know why we do not look at veteran suicides, why we don't track them, why we don't honor them as casualties of wars. The truth in any peace and reconciliation activity is the first thing, the first step to all of this. So in that conclusion, I would again ask what your number one priority that's going to act concretely as opposed to process would be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul.